I'm Ben Lovell. I'm working for Continental Atherton on Charlie Hatton's bike.
Here in Val di Sole, can you tell me about bike setup, how different it is from other tracks?
It's real steep here and rough, and once you go out the start hut you don't really pedal again. So you kind of want the bike to hold its shape quite well, so you want the front end to be high, relatively stiff, and the rear end to sit in and be quite soft, so that the bike's not pitching you forwards down the hill. But saying that, come race day, the holes are so rough and the boys are going so fast that we end up just going firmer on the rear again.
Can you tell me the difference between rebuilding a bike with a belt versus rebuilding a bike with a traditional drivetrain?
It's easy, to be fair. No, there's not much we have to do. Like, it depends on what the boys have been doing. They've been in Schladming for a week in the dust, so the bikes have got dust everywhere. So we're going to do a full strip down. Might end up taking the gearbox out the bike just to clean out any dust between where the gearbox mounts and the frame, just in case there is a creak or anything like that. But generally you don't have to touch them. They're pretty self-sustaining. Every now and then we might charge it just because it's got a little battery for the smart shifter. But belt-wise, you just wash it with water. Don't have to do anything else.
My final question is bar height. Can I measure some of your riders' bar heights?
Of course, yeah. Get the tape measure out. There we go. On Charlie's bike, I'll put that in the middle of the axle there, measure up, and we are 870 mil.
870 mil?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know if that's high or if that's low?
That's his middle of the ground. So that's his general go-to setup. We could go lower than that. He'd usually control that with a spacer under here. You can see at the moment he's got a 5mm stem spacer in. We could put a 2.5mm in there, or get rid of the 5mm, or we can go the other way as well. So I wouldn't be surprised here if we put a 2.5mm in, maybe, just if he's feeling the pressure in his bars. But Charlie's pretty set on how he likes his bike, to be fair. He doesn't tend to change the feel of the setup of the bike too much, whereas say like George, he likes to change it a bit more. Like, he might play around with different things, and even Luke was playing around with different grips last week just to sort of change the pressure of his hands. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie puts a 5mm stem spacer in here.
This is Oshino Callahan's race bike, and we're just going to be prepping it for the upcoming World Cup.
So talk about changes, bike setup. Is there much between 2 weeks ago in Leogang and here?
So I think there should have been, in hindsight. We made a lot of changes in the off season to the setup, which in turn I believe is going to suit this track really well, but didn't perhaps suit Leogang as well as it could have. So we're actually going to stick to what we're on and see how it goes.
And what is that setup? Is it suspension, geometry?
Suspension mainly. It's a lot softer than anything we rode last year, so yeah, could go well here.
Or can I measure Oshin's bar height?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're going from center of the axle to the bottom of the grip.
Center of the axle to the bottom of the grip.
Yeah.
865, I reckon, from here, potentially.
865?
Yeah, okay. 865, 864.
And will that change much this week at all?
No, honestly, no. That unit will never change. We'd maybe add some pressure to bring the front end up. But no, I don't think we'll even do that here, honestly. No.
So, Nina, are you after your crash in Leogang?
I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm upright, I'm not feeling too bad. The back's still pretty stiff, my ribs do hurt a little bit here, but I'm gonna go for an e-bike right now and see how the body feels down the hill, so yeah.
So, yeah, tell us what happened. Was it a misjudgment or what was it?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a misjudgment. I actually don't know what was going on in my head, something just clicked wrong. And I was like, well, rather than only squashing it a little bit, I was kind of pulling for that jump into the wall ride, and then in the air I was overwhelmed with everything. I knew I'd done something wrong here, or something I'm not prepared for, and then I just tried to ride the corner as low as possible to not go over the berm, and what happened is I went over the berm because of the G-forces. So yeah, probably completely misjudgment, and I would say classic junior mistake. Happens sometimes. Unfortunately, it did to me in this section. Not the best section to do it, but I'm so glad I'm healthy. It could have gone so much worse. So yeah.
So do you think you'd be able to race in Val di Sole?
We'll see if I'm able to race. I'm definitely able to ride. I'll do a couple of training laps on Thursday, and then we'll see how I feel, and if I feel good, and I give it a go. Yeah.
I'm Brad Blackwell. I'm a downhill mechanic for Giant Factory Off-Road, and I work for Luke Meyer-Smith.
Okay, so what have you got going on this week?
We have some revisions for our number plate that we designed. These let us run a tuned mass damper into the plate. So the idea behind this was, instead of having an asymmetrical mount, which feels kind of funny in flat corners, this centers the mass damper, and that way it feels the same cornering and it kind of tucks it away nicely. We also have a new version of our disc cover for intermediate and wet conditions. Allows more predictable braking, especially splashing through puddles. We have another version with vents, so we're kind of trying to find a balance of temperature and venting. For now, we're only really using it in intermediate and wet conditions.
So Josh, we're here with Lucky's bike. Can we get a measurement on his bar height? Center of axle to bottom of grip at the edge.
Easy. Just straight angle. Or do you want to?
What's that number?
862.
862. And do you know if that's high or low, or is that just what he runs all the time?
That's just what he'll run all the time. Don't really mess around with that. He just gets into a position and feels comfortable, sort of thing.
And even on a track as steep as Val di Sole, where bar height is a thing, won't touch it.
If it comes to it, we might do, but I'll be very surprised if we do.
We are getting the bikes out of the truck and we're about to go through them all. They've had a hard week in Schladming, so give them a bit of a rebuild. And yeah, hopefully just replace a few bearings and that should be it. Yeah, often, like with Bernie in the past, we've raised the bar height up kind of 5 mil, just kind of keeps him out of the holes a bit more. There's some big compressions, big holes here, and it's a bit steeper than kind of the average tracks we go to. So just a little bit of extra bar height, pushes you back on the bike a bit, hopefully keeps you out of some of them holes.
So can I measure your bar height?
You can, this is Roger's bike, so you can measure Roger's bike.
That is 70, I'd say. 870 mil to the bottom of the grip.
And is that high or is that low or is that somewhere in the middle?
I'd say that's somewhere in the middle. It's a small bike. Roger doesn't have the longest of limbs. I'd say it's kind of in the middle, but I don't really know, if I'm honest.
Do you have a bike you could just do a quick measurement on?
I can. Should we do Ryan's bike?
Yeah, let's do it. How tall are you, Ryan?
Sorry? I'm 6'5", so like 198 centimeters.
And do you know offhand if you run a high or a low setup on your bars?
I'd say I run a pretty high setup, yeah.
Right. So center of axle. 920 mil.
920.
So it's quite a big increase. Okay. What, 50 mil more?
Yeah, so what made that difference?
We've got the Renthal, is it 60 mil rise you've gone? 60 mil rise bars. He's got his stanchions pretty far through and got a couple more mils of spacers on the headset.
So Dakota Norton, how's everything's going with you?
Yeah, overall, like super stoked so far with everything. I mean, obviously a lot of people know I had like a pretty big injury and now I'm trying to work back from that injury, but had a great race last weekend. The only goal was to really pedal out of the starting gate and I think I far exceeded that, being close to qualifying. And obviously, like here this week, it's a much different challenge. I feel like it's going to be much harder for me given like how gnarly and physical the track is. You know, like even the fittest guys that trained all winter tend to come here and say, wow, this is really hard. So yeah, just try to keep my expectations real and just be grateful to be here riding.
So this week for Pit Bits, we're doing as much we can on bar heights.
Center of axle to bottom of grip. Okay, so I'd say center is, hey. Let's maybe say there.
Yeah, that looks.
Let the comments go. So, what is that? So this would be 910, 20. Yeah, 925. Oh, here comes the comments. Is that how that works? Yeah. Something like that.
925 millimeters.
Yes, correct. Okay. You know, I use this thing, there's all these little lines, you know, 3/8, you know, things like that we use when we're woodworking at home, but the whole millimeter, I'm on freedom. I'm on freedom units. I'm not I'm not on the metric system. I'm on freedom units.
So Woody, we're doing a thing on bar heights this week.
Yeah.
Can we measure Jackson's bike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pigeon in the centre there. So,
It looks like 895 to me. Yeah.
there you are.
895.
How's that stack?
Would you say that's high?
Yeah, I think proportionately to his height, he runs him pretty tall. I mean, everyone sees his riding style where he's kind of like really stood up straight, really sort of broad at the front. So, but yeah, he seems to like it. We play around with like 5mm of spacer under the stem back and forth, but he always seems to go back to wanting it taller, even if it doesn't necessarily make exact sense for the track, I guess. But yeah, seems to like it higher.
Could we get a measurement on Dylan's handlebars?
From here to the...
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's like... It's like that?
86.5?
Yeah.
865. Okay, perfect. So we're doing bar heights. Are you up for measuring?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We doing inches or?
Well, if you ask Dak, we're doing inches, but
Okay, perfect.
everyone else in the world does millimeters.
Oh, so I'm almost 35 inches. So 885.
885.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know if that's your highest setting or lowest setting, or just sort of what?
That's like standard. Not high, not low, middle. Base.
Do you ever go lower or higher?
Yeah, a little bit. Mostly, yeah, like 5 mil here and there.
Nathan, I can see you judging me on my.
Not here to judge, mate. Not here to judge.
Can we get Troy's on the flawed measuring system?
Yeah, but you run some shorter bars than Lucas. So, where'd you go from here?
Bottom of grip to.
Hey, we're doing inches as well.
We ain't. To the centre?
Yeah. No, to the center. Yeah.
All right. 880.
What's that in real money?
880 millimeters.
I don't even know what that means.
Exactly. Typical Yanks.
So Troy's on 880.
880. Yeah.
Okay.